Hey guys, tonight we're settling into the gloriously uneventful life of the Aardvark, nature's most dedicated sleeper. Picture this. The sun dips below the Kalahari horizon, painting the scrubland in soft oranges and purples, and somewhere beneath your feet, a groggy, snuffling creature stirs. That's you now. You blink open tiny, bleary eyes, your body still heavy with the kind of sleep inertia that would make a sloth nod in respect. You've been out cold for 18 hours straight, and honestly, you could have gone longer. But hunger tugs at your belly. Not urgently, just enough to motivate a half-hearted shuffle toward the burrow's entrance. Your first thought as you emerge: why is the world so bright? It's not. Dusk is basically Aardvark sunglasses. Your second thought: should I bother? Because let's be real, if you were a human trying to live like this, you'd be fired, divorced, and possibly declared legally missing within a week. But you're not human, you're an Aardvark, and your entire evolutionary purpose is to be really, really good at doing nothing. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Is it 2 AM and you're clinging to consciousness like a koala to a eucalyptus branch? Perfect, you're in the right place. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your nose twitches as the first cool breeze of evening brushes past. It's not just any nose, it's a masterpiece of biological indifference. Imagine if a pig's snout and a vacuum cleaner had a baby, then gave it to a sleep-deprived engineer to design while they were half dozing. That's your face. It's absurdly long, vaguely duck-like, and somehow always damp. But it's perfect for what comes next. Dinner. You amble forward, your claws curved and sturdy like tiny shovels, scuffing the dirt. You're not walking so much as loafing with intent. Every step radiates the energy of someone who's already mentally preparing for their next nap, which, to be fair, you are. Ahead, a termite mound rises from the earth like a miniature skyscraper. It's your version of a 24-hour drive-through. Here's the thing about Aardvark eating habits. They're the culinary equivalent of scrolling through your phone in bed. Zero ceremony. You wedge your snout into the mound's side, inhale sharply, and let your sticky, foot-long tongue do the rest. Termites flood into your mouth like it's a Black Friday sale at a mattress store. You don't chew, you barely even swallow with conviction. It's less meal and more a biological process that happens to you while you're vaguely awake. Scientists estimate you'll eat upwards of 50,000 insects tonight. You estimate you'll care about approximately 0 of them. 'Cause here's the secret. You're not really here for the termites. You're here because eating is the only thing standing between you and your next 16-hour siesta. And that's worth waking up for. Your nose knows before the rest of you does. That faint vibration in the soil, the barely there scent of formic acid drifting on the night air. Dinner is served. Not that you're in any particular hurry to get there. You amble forward with the urgency of a Sunday morning, your claws leaving comma-shaped prints in the dust. That magnificent snout of yours isn't just for show. It's a biological Swiss Army knife that would make MacGyver jealous. Imagine if someone crossed a metal detector with a vacuum hose and then made it permanently damp. That's your face. The 100,000 nerve endings packed into its rubbery surface could detect a single ant sneezing 3 burrows over. though frankly you can't be bothered to care about anything less than an all-you-can-eat buffet. As you approach the termite mound, your ears, which look like they were stolen from a much larger, more alert animal, swivel lazily. They're picking up the symphony of the night, distant jackals yipping, the rustle of dry grass, the occasional plink of termite soldiers head-butting each other in defence. None of this concerns you. You're basically a sleepwalker with a very specific craving. The actual eating process is undignified. You press your nozzle-like snout against the mound's side and inhale with the force of a shy shop vac. Your 12-inch tongue, sticky as a toddler's fingers after eating syrup, flicks in and out about 150 times per minute. It's not graceful, it's barely even conscious. Picture someone sleep-eating peanut butter straight from the jar at 3 a.m. and you're getting close. Here's the beautiful part. You don't even need to open your eyes for this. Your nostrils can independently wiggle and sniff like they've got their own tiny brains. They don't. Though given how little your actual brain seems to be involved in this process, it's a fair assumption. The termites never stood a chance. Not that they were particularly formidable opponents to begin with. Their entire defensive strategy is basically bite the giant nose and hope it goes away. Between slurps, you pause, not to rest exactly. More like your body forgot it was supposed to be eating and defaulted to standby mode. Your back legs splay out like a dog sleeping on tile floor. Your tail, that absurd whip of hair that serves no apparent purpose, curls around your flank like a comma punctuating your general state of meh. Biologists have a fancy term for your eating style, myrmecophagy. You have a simpler term, whatever works. Because let's be honest, if you had to put actual effort into this, you'd probably just skip dinner and go straight back to sleep. And really, wouldn't we all? The termite mound is half gone now, or maybe you just lost interest. It's hard to tell. Your attention span makes a goldfish look like a chess grandmaster. Your tongue makes a few half-hearted swipes at the remaining insects, more out of habit than hunger, before you suddenly remember, right, sleeping exists. Your eyelids droop like they've been weighted with sandbags. Not the slow, graceful blink of a contented house cat. This is more like a garage door grinding to a close after someone cut the power. One moment you're vaguely upright. The next your belly is pressed into the warm earth, your legs splayed in 4 different directions like a dropped marionette. This isn't just sleeping. This is performance art sleeping. Your back legs twitch once, some residual instinct telling you to find shelter, but the thought evaporates before it can fully form. Shelter? You are shelter. That thick hide of yours could shrug off a lion's casual swipe. Not that you'd notice. And your back is basically a biological roof. Termites crawl over your paws. A beetle wanders across your snout. You exhale through your nostrils with enough force to send it tumbling. But this is less a defensive move and more like when a computer fan kicks on to prevent overheating. Scientists would kill to study your sleep cycles. Not that they'd learn much. Your brain activity during naps looks less like sleep stages and more like a screensaver. There's some debate about whether you even dream. If you do, it's probably just endless fields of termite mounds with "eat me" signs. Or maybe that one weird route you couldn't dig past last Tuesday. A full-grown aardvark like you sleeps about 18 hours a day. You're currently aiming for 19. Your back foot kicks involuntarily, some deep muscle memory of digging, but the movement dies halfway through. Your claws stay barely extended, like you're trying to lazily scratch an itch in your sleep. The position you're in shouldn't be anatomically possible. Your neck is bent at an angle that would send a chiropractor into hysterics. Your front legs are folded under you like a poorly packed suitcase, and your tail has somehow ended up draped over your eyes like a sleep mask. A passing meerkat pauses to watch you snore, its equal parts impressed and disgusted. You, of course, notice none of this. The wind shifts. The temperature drops by 0.5 degree. These would be concerns for an animal that cared about things. For you, just more reasons to stay exactly where you are. Somewhere in the distance, a predator coughs. Your ears rotate toward the sound with mechanical precision, and then immediately forget about it. Threat assessment requires energy. Energy requires waking up. Waking up requires caring. You're fresh out of cares. Somewhere in the haze between slurping up termites and collapsing into the dirt, your body remembers you own property. Not the fancy above-ground kind where sunlight and predators roam freely, but a proper underground studio apartment, complete with mood lighting, none, and climate control, also none, but the temperature stays a perfect 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round anyway. You don't so much walk to your burrow as ooze in its general direction. Your claws drag faint trails in the dirt, the Aardvark equivalent of leaving breadcrumbs in case you forget where you live. Unlikely. Your nose could find this place in a coma. The entrance yawns before you. Not too wide. You're security conscious, if by conscious we mean operating entirely on instinct, but just big enough to admit your gloriously lazy frame. Digging this burrow was the most exercise you've done in your entire life. It shows in the architecture. The entry tunnel slopes downward at exactly the angle of least resistance, widening into a sleeping chamber that's essentially a dirt hug. There are no right angles here. Everything is rounded, smoothed, and slightly damp in that way that would disgust humans, but feels like a 5-star hotel to you. The walls hold the faint, comforting scent of, well, you. It's not musk exactly. More like warm mammal who definitely doesn't sweat but might condensate a little. You don't so much enter as pour yourself inside, your body folding into the contours of the tunnel like a spoon settling into old memory foam. The temperature drops instantly. Not that you were overheating. Your body runs at the approximate enthusiasm level of a dial-up modem. But the cool earth against your belly is the closest thing you experience to spa treatment. Here's the genius of your burrow. It breathes. The entrance and a secondary air shaft create just enough airflow to prevent suffocation, but not so much that you'd ever feel a draft. The humidity stays at a constant damp handshake level, enough to keep your weirdly sensitive nose from drying out, not enough to promote mould, not that you'd care. Somewhere above, the roots of an acacia tree dangle through the ceiling like nature's bead curtain, occasionally dropping bits of soil that you sleep through with Olympic-level dedication. Biologists argue whether you dig new burrows regularly or just squat in abandoned ones. The answer, yes. Tonight's residence shows signs of being pre-owned. The walls are suspiciously smooth. The sleeping chamber suspiciously aardvark-shaped. You didn't bother to redecorate. Why would you? The previous tenant clearly had excellent taste in places to lie motionless for 18 hours. As you settle into the exact middle of the chamber, feng shui is irrelevant when you're basically a sentient beanbag. Your tail curls around your flank in a move that's either protective or just something your body does when it forgets what to do with limbs. Outside, the moon rises, insects chirp. The savannah does whatever it is savannas do at night. You couldn't care less. You're home. Your dreams, if they exist at all, must be the most mundane films ever projected in nature's cinema. No epic chases or dramatic story arcs, just slow-motion reels of dirt, the occasional root system, and that one particularly juicy termite mound you found last rainy season. Neuroscientists would kill to hook you up to an EEG, only to discover your brainwaves resemble a screensaver, that pulsing demo logo from old CRT televisions bouncing lazily between your ears. You shift position with the urgency of continental drift. One back leg extends, not because you're stretching, but simply because gravity won the argument with your muscles. Your claws, those magnificent dirt hooks, remain slightly unfurled, as if you fell asleep mid-thought about maybe digging someday. The tip of your tongue lolls from your mouth, tasting the cool burrow air for any residual termite essence. Finding none, it retreats like a disappointed anteater's shadow. Every 47 minutes, not that you're counting, your body remembers it technically needs to breathe. Your ribs expand in a sigh so profound it sends a small avalanche of dirt particles trickling from the ceiling. They land on your back, joining the collection of detritus that's slowly turning your hide into a biological mulch pile. A beetle wanders across your paw, realizes it's made a terrible life choice, and reverses course. You remain blissfully unaware. Somewhere above ground, life happens. Predators hunt. Prey flees. The moon completes a quarter of its journey across the sky. Down here in your earthen cocoon, time has all the meaning of a snoozed alarm clock. Your metabolism, already running at energy-saving mode, drops to airplane settings. Even your famously prodigious ears, which can detect a beetle fart at 30 paces, have folded themselves into origami shapes suggesting permanent resignation. Occasionally, a muscle twitches, not the dramatic kick of a dreaming dog, but the faintest tremor, like when a computer fan cycles on just long enough to remind you it still works. Your tail, that absurd feather duster appendage, curls tighter around your haunches as if trying to hug itself. The temperature drops 2 degrees. You don't stir. The oxygen level dips slightly. You care even less. At some point, could be hours, could be minutes, your stomach makes a sound so quiet, it's basically an afterthought. This is your version of an alarm clock, not the blaring electronic kind, but one of those fancy sunrise simulators that gently suggest consciousness might be worth considering. You ignore it magnificently. There are still at least 7 naps scheduled before your next meal. The world outside keeps turning. You keep not caring. The balance is perfect. Evolution has gifted you with the ultimate superpower, the ability to waste time so efficiently that it circles back to becoming an evolutionary advantage. While meerkats stand sentry duty and wildebeests migrate across continents, you've perfected the art of existing with the same energy expenditure as a slightly damp log. Your closest spiritual relative isn't another mammal. It's that rock over there that hasn't moved since the Pliocene epoch. Your current state of repose would concern a yoga instructor. The spinal curvature alone, somewhere between a question mark and half-finished crochet project, defies conventional anatomy. One front leg is tucked beneath you like a collapsed folding chair, while the other extends forward as if you fell asleep mid-reach, for a TV remote you never actually wanted. Your head rests at an angle that suggests your neck bones have politely agreed to stop speaking to each other. Biologists have a term for your metabolic rate: torpor. You have a simpler term: Tuesday. While other mammals burn calories maintaining body heat, Your internal thermostat is set to room temperature wine cellar. Your heartbeat slows to a rhythm that would make a hibernating bear nod approvingly. About 30 beats per minute during these marathon sleep sessions, though beats implies more effort than your heart actually puts in. Occasional pulsations might be more accurate. The occasional outsider might mistake you for dead. You take this as a compliment. Your breathing becomes so shallow that a mayfly landing on your nose wouldn't feel a single exhalation. Even your legendary ears, normally twitchier than a conspiracy theorist in a newsroom, have gone completely still, their radar dish shapes collecting nothing but dust and the distant memory of sounds. Every few hours your body performs its version of a system check. Lungs, barely operational. Digestion, suspended indefinitely. Consciousness, strongly discouraged. The report always comes back the same. Proceed with inactivity. A family of dung beetles rolls their prize past your burrow entrance. One adventurous youngster veers too close to your sleeping form, antennae quivering with curiosity. It's the aardvark equivalent of a door-to-door salesman interrupting your nap. Your response, or rather lack thereof, is magnificent in its totality. The beetle could stage a full circus performance on your back, and you wouldn't so much as twitch a whisker. After 30 seconds of intense scrutiny, the insect moves along, vaguely disappointed by your lack of participation in the ecosystem. Above ground, the African night reaches its crescendo. Predators hunt, prey, flees. The celestial dance continues unabated. Beneath the surface, in your personal pocket of perfect indifference, you've achieved what philosophers have sought for millennia, the art of being profoundly, gloriously unnecessary to the moment. The world turns. You don't. Balance is maintained. At some point, perhaps when the moon is at its zenith, perhaps when a particularly ambitious termite bumps against your burrow wall, your body decides it has been too still. This cannot stand. You awaken. Not fully, of course. That would require effort. No, this is more of a system reboot. A drowsy, half-hearted recalibration of limbs. Your spine unkinks itself with a series of pops that would alarm a chiropractor. Your back legs, which have been folded beneath you like an origami accident, slowly extend until your toes brush the burrow wall. One ear flicks, a nostril twitches. This is your version of calisthenics. The entire process takes approximately 3 minutes. You are exhausted by it. Scientists call this maintenance wakefulness, a brief interruption in sleep to ensure you don't, say, forget to breathe or accidentally fuse with the dirt. You call it that annoying thing that happens between naps. Your eyes don't even open. There's no need. The inside of your burrow is as familiar as the inside of your own eyelids, which, coincidentally, you're still wearing like a sleep mask. A yawn creeps up on you. Not a cute kittenish yawn. This is a full-body event. Your jaw unhinges with the drama of a drawbridge, your tongue curling at the tip like a dried leaf. The sound you emit is less yawn and more dying bagpipe, a noise so biologically unnecessary that even the crickets outside pause mid-chirp to judge you. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the moment passes. Your muscles sigh back into inertia. Your head droops. Your tail, which had momentarily straightened in protest, collapses back into its usual comma shape. You are once again asleep. The entire intermission lasted less time than it takes a sloth to regret a decision. Somewhere between your 4th and 5th sleep cycle, a fascinating neurological mystery unfolds inside that cantaloupe-sized skull of yours. Scientists have spent decades wondering, do aardvarks dream? The answer, of course, is, why would we? Your brain activity during these marathon rest periods shows patterns that could charitably be called minimal. EEG readings resemble a flat line with commitment issues, occasionally blipping upward just enough to avoid alarming the researchers, then immediately settling back into what can only be described as a vegetative state of contentment. If you do dream, it's certainly not about chasing prey or escaping predators. More likely it's a slow-motion replay of your greatest hits. That one time you found a particularly soft patch of dirt, the memorable occasion when a termite walked directly into your mouth, that vague sensation of warmth when sunlight almost reached your burrow entrance. Your occasional muscle twitches suggest some mental activity, though whether this constitutes actual dreams or just your nervous system, checking if you're still alive remains hotly debated in academic circles. The leading theories suggest your subconscious operates like a screensaver, occasionally displaying a bouncing aardvark-shaped icon, just to prove the system hasn't crashed. Remarkably, your sleep appears completely devoid of REM cycles. Most mammals experience rapid eye movement sleep. That's when humans have their most vivid dreams. You've evolved beyond such neurological extravagance. Your eye movements during sleep could best be described as occasional and unenthusiastic. A team of researchers once attempted to study your dream patterns by showing you various stimuli before sleep. Termite mounds elicited no response. The scent of predators got a single nostril twitch. The control group, shown absolutely nothing, got exactly the same results. The study was quietly shelved. Perhaps the most telling evidence of your dreamless sleep comes from your waking behaviour. Most mammals display signs of sleep inertia, that groggy feeling after being abruptly awakened. You transition from unconsciousness to half-hearted alertness, with all the drama of a dimmer switch being adjusted by someone with very little ambition. As dawn's first light begins its futile attempt to penetrate your burrow, your brain activity remains as flat as the savanna horizon. If there are dreams happening in there, they're keeping a very low profile. More likely, you've achieved the neurological equivalent of a Zen garden, all raked sand and perfect stillness. The mystery endures. But then again, so does your nap. Your approach to energy expenditure would make a sloth look like a hyperactive toddler on a sugar rush. Every aspect of your physiology has been fine-tuned by evolution to achieve maximum laziness, a masterpiece of biological efficiency that physicists wish they could replicate in laboratory conditions. Let's examine your daily calorie budget. 80% allocated to existing, 15% reserved for occasional nasal twitching, 5% emergency fund for sudden but brief insect cravings. Your walk-in speed tops out at what scientists politely call glacial, and everyone else calls "are you even moving?" At your most motivated, you can cover 2 to 3 kilometers in an hour, a pace that allows grass to grow faster than you can eat it. Your claws, while impressively sharp, are used with all the enthusiasm of someone reluctantly opening a can of beans at 2 a.m. Even your digestion operates on minimal effort. That 12-inch sticky tongue, it's the only part of you that moves with any speed, flicking in and out like nature's worst party favour. Once food reaches your stomach, it's processed with the urgency of a government office during a holiday weekend. Your intestines absorb nutrients so slowly that some meals might technically outlast you. Your temperature regulation is similarly economical. While other mammals burn calories maintaining body heat, Your internal thermostat is permanently set to room temperature leftovers. On cold nights, you simply burrow deeper. On hot days, you burrow shallower. It's a system so simple it's genius. The biological equivalent of putting on a sweater instead of turning up the heat. Your responses to external stimuli follow the same energy-conscious philosophy. Predator nearby? Too expensive to care, rain flooding your burrow? Mild inconvenience, termite mound depleted? There's always tomorrow. Researchers have calculated that an aardvark's daily energy expenditure is roughly equivalent to a human spending an entire day binge-watching TV. If the human occasionally got up to microwave a snack using only their tongue, even your yawns are energy efficient. Just enough jaw movement to qualify as activity before immediately returning to stasis. As the first hints of dawn's light begin filtering through the savannah, you remain the gold standard of inertia. While birds begin their morning songs and predators make their last rounds, you're already preparing for your next sleep shift, not by moving, but by continuing to not move, just in a slightly different position. The circle of life continues around you. You continue not participating in it. The balance is beautiful. In a world of chatty meerkats and affectionate lion prides, you are nature's original introvert, a pioneer of personal space so vast it could be measured in light years. Your social calendar makes a hermit crab look like a party animal. While other creatures form complex social bonds, you've perfected the art of existing alone with the quiet confidence of a library book that hasn't been checked out since 1987. Your interactions with other aardvarks follow 3 simple rules. If you smell another aardvark, walk slowly the other way. If you see another aardvark, pretend you didn't. If you accidentally touch another aardvark, immediately schedule a 16-hour nap to recover. Mating season is the one exception to your solitary lifestyle, and even that is handled with maximum efficiency and minimum enthusiasm. Courtship consists of 2 aardvarks sniffing each other with all the romance of someone checking milk expiration dates, followed by the briefest possible biological transaction, before both parties immediately return to their respective burrows to sleep for 3 days straight. Researchers once attempted to study aardvark's social behaviour by placing 2 individuals in the same enclosure. The results were groundbreaking. Day 1. Both aardvarks pretended the other didn't exist. Day 2. One yawned, which the other interpreted as aggressive behaviour. Day 3. They built a wall of dirt between them using only their claws and sheer determination. Your parenting style continues this tradition of benign neglect. Baby aardvarks are born already half asleep and fully independent, requiring about as much supervision as a houseplant. They'll follow their mother for milk, but only if she walks slowly enough, which, of course, she always does. By 6 months, they've perfected the family business of sleeping 18 hours a day and barely acknowledging the rest of creation. Even your relationship with the ecosystem is refreshingly uncomplicated. You don't form symbiotic relationships. You don't participate in mutual grooming. Your entire philosophy can be summarized as, I will dig holes and eat insects, and in return, I promise nothing. As the morning sun begins warming the savannah above your burrow, you remain blissfully unaware of, and completely uninterested in, any other living creature. Somewhere nearby, a herd of zebras is having some sort of dramatic social interaction, involving lots of noise and movement. You couldn't care less. The world is full of complicated relationships. You are happily, gloriously, profoundly not part of them. Your philosophy of life would make Buddhist monks look like anxious stockbrokers. While the rest of the animal kingdom frets about survival, status and territory, you've achieved enlightenment through the simple practice of consistent, high-quality indifference. The Aardvark worldview can be distilled to its purest essence, whatever. Each day is the same, and that's exactly how you like it. No ambitions trouble your sleep. No regrets haunt your waking moments, all 90 minutes of them. Your emotional range spans from mildly curious about that smell to too tired to care anymore. A spectrum so narrow it's practically two-dimensional. Scientists have attempted to measure your stress levels and failed spectacularly. Heart rate monitors show no spikes. Cortisol tests come back suspiciously flat. Even when researchers played recordings of lion roars near your burrow, your most dramatic response was a single ear twitch, followed by 20% deeper sleep. The study was quietly shelved after the lead researcher began questioning their own life choices. Your secret? A complete lack of imagination. While other animals experience fear of potential threats or anxiety about future meals, your brain operates strictly in the present tense. Problems only exist when they're literally touching your nose, and even then, they're probably just more termites, so it's fine. This mindset extends to all aspects of your life. Pain, just sleep through it. Hunger, it'll still be there after a nap danger. Never met her. Modern humans pay therapists thousands to achieve this level of detachment. You were born with it. Your ancestors didn't survive 35 million years by worrying. They survived by being too lazy to go extinct. As the midday sun bakes the savannah above your burrow, you demonstrate your mastery of this philosophy once again. Somewhere nearby, a predator chases prey. Birds squabble over territory. The wind changes direction. None of this concerns you. You're busy achieving perfect equilibrium between consciousness and coma. Your breathing so regular it could calibrate medical equipment. The world is full of striving, struggling creatures. You are not one of them. You simply are. And frankly, that's enough. You're not what anyone would call fastidious. Your grooming routine makes a college dorm room look like a surgical suite. While other animals lick their fur, preen their feathers, or engage in elaborate social grooming rituals, your approach to cleanliness can be summarized as, eventually the dirt will give up. Your coat, a patchwork of coarse hairs and stubborn dust, has never known the touch of a proper bath. Why would it? Water is for drinking, not for frivolous activities like washing. Your idea of skincare is rolling in dry soil until the top layer of grime is replaced by a fresh one. This isn't hygiene, it's a renewable filth resource. Your claws, though impressively sturdy, are less manicured and more archaeological dig. Packed with the remains of countless burrowing sessions, they function as tiny time capsules, each layer of dirt preserving a different era of your life. A biologist could probably carbon date your last meal based on what's wedged beneath your third toenail. And then there's your face. That magnificent tubular snout, so precise in detecting termites, so indifferent to basic upkeep. It's perpetually damp, not from any intentional moisturizing routine, but because your nose secretes a thin film of mucus to enhance your sense of smell. The result? You always look like you just finished crying over a particularly emotional termite documentary. Your ears, those enormous satellite dish appendages, collect dust like museum exhibits. Occasionally, a particularly bold insect will wander inside, realize its mistake, and immediately regret every life choice that led it there. Do you notice? Of course not. You're asleep. The closest thing you have to a spa day is when it rains. Water trickles into your burrow, dampening the soil beneath you. Do you move? Number. You simply sink slightly deeper into the mud, accepting your fate as a temporary swamp creature. By morning, the water has retreated, leaving you with a fresh layer of earthy paste clinging to your hide. This, you consider, is basically the same as exfoliating. Biologists have a term for animals that groom themselves regularly. You're not one of them. Your version of self-care is waiting until your own dirt becomes structurally significant enough to require shedding. Even then, the process is passive. You scratch against a root once, lose a few ounces of compacted soil, and call it a day. As the afternoon heat seeps into your burrow, you remain blissfully unconcerned with appearances. Somewhere out there, gazelles are licking their coats to a glossy sheen. Monkeys are picking through each other's fur. You're busy achieving pico naturel, a living testament to the fact that if you ignore hygiene long enough, it stops being a problem and starts being an aesthetic. The world is full of creatures trying too hard. You are not one of them. In a world of dramatic chases, cunning ambushes, and high-speed escapes, you have perfected the ultimate survival strategy, being too boring to kill. Lions, they prefer meals that run. Hyenas, they like a little drama. Even leopards, nature's most patient stalkers, eventually lose interest when their target hasn't moved in 6 hours. Your entire anti-predator playbook consists of one move. Wait. Outside. Everything. Let's break down your defense mechanisms. Camouflage. No need. You don't blend into the environment, you become it. After enough time lying motionless, dirt accumulates on your back. Termites wander across your pores and small plants might consider sprouting on you. You're not hiding. You're geologically assimilating, fight or flight, hard pass. Your response to danger is freeze and hope it goes away. Not the adrenaline-fueled freeze of a deer, more like a rock that briefly considered being animate before deciding it's not worth the effort. Armour? Your skin is thick enough to shrug off most casual bites, but the real secret is your aura of disinterest. Predators instinctively recognize that eating you would be like chewing on a leather couch filled with disappointment. There was one recorded incident where a young lioness attempted to bite you. The results were underwhelming. You didn't react. She got a mouthful of coarse hair and dirt. You sighed, which she interpreted as a threat. She left, vaguely offended. Biologists call this passive deterrence. You call it winning by default. Even your burrow is designed for maximum predator avoidance, not through clever engineering, but through sheer inconvenience. The entrance is just narrow enough that larger carnivores can't be bothered to dig you out. Is this aardvark worth ruining my claws over? Answer, no. As evening approaches and predators begin their nightly prowls, you remain unbothered. Somewhere out there, impalas are leaping, zebras are bolting, and the warthogs are making dramatic last-minute turns. You're doing exactly what you always do. Nothing. And it works every single time. You are the ultimate rebuke to productivity culture. While squirrels hoard nuts, bees build hives, and cheetahs sprint after gazelles, you have perfected the art of structured idleness. Your daily planner, if you had one, would consist of a single, unchanging entry, B. Let's examine your schedule. Morning, theoretical, 6 a.m. The sun rises, 6:01 a.m. You do not notice. 6:02 a.m. You are already asleep again. Afternoon, optional, 12 p.m. Heat peaks outside your burrow, 12:01 p.m. You shift slightly to avoid a root poking your ribs, 12:02 p.m. This counts as exercise. Evening, barely acknowledged. 6 p.m. Dusk settles. 6:01 p.m. Your body considers waking up. 6:15 p.m. You yawn. This is your version of a morning jog. 6:30 p.m. You finally emerge, moving with the urgency of a sloth on sedatives. Night, minimal engagement. 8 p.m. You locate a termite mound. 8:05 p.m. You eat with the enthusiasm of someone microwaving leftovers. 8:30 p.m. You decide this is enough effort for one day. 8:31 p.m. You collapse into the nearest acceptable napping position. Biologists have tried to study your circadian rhythm and given up. Your sleep cycles don't follow patterns so much as they politely ignore the concept of time altogether. You don't have an internal clock. You have an internal sundial that's permanently covered by clouds. Even your digestion operates on its own unhurried timeline. A meal that would pass through another animal in hours takes days in your system, because why rush? Nutrients are extracted with the efficiency of a government office processing paperwork. The few times you do move with purpose, it's less about time management and more about energy conservation. If a termite mound is more than 20 meters away, not worth it. If a predator is nearby, not your problem. If the weather changes, you'll adjust, eventually. Modern humans stress over deadlines, alarms and schedules. You exist in a state of blissful temporal ambiguity where later is a myth, and now is always nap time. As the night deepens and the rest of the savannah buzzes with activity, you remain gloriously out of sync with the world's frantic pace. Time is an illusion. Aardvark sleep is eternal. The first hints of dawn creep into your burrow like uninvited guests. Somewhere above, the savannah is waking up. Birds begin their morning gossip, herbivores tentatively sniff the air for predators, and the sun stretches its golden fingers across the landscape. You, however, are already done with today. Your brief evening of half-hearted termite consumption has left you exhausted in the way only an aardvark can be, not physically but existentially. The very idea of movement now feels like a personal affront. Your claws, so efficient at digging, now lie limp in the dirt like forgotten gardening tools. Your ears, which could once twitch at the faintest sound, have entered low-power mode. Even your legendary snout, that masterful insect detector, rests against the ground, its tip slightly damp with dew and disinterest. Scientists have a term for what you're experiencing: postprandial torpor. You have a simpler term: perfect. Your breathing slows to a rhythm that would concern a meditating monk. Your heartbeat, already lazy, now thumps with the regularity of a dripping faucet. Your muscles, never particularly tense to begin with, surrender completely to gravity. You are not sleeping. You are reintegrating with the earth itself. Somewhere in the distance a predator yawns, giving up on the day before it's even begun. A breeze stirs the grass, then thinks better of it. The world, for just this moment, seems to pause, as if acknowledging that you, the aardvark, have once again outlasted it through sheer refusal to participate. And then, as effortlessly as a sigh fading into silence, you are gone again. Not dead, not even fully asleep, just elsewhere. Somewhere between dreaming and waking, between breathing and stillness, between existence and whatever comes after. The sun rises fully now, but it doesn't matter. The heat builds, but you're beyond feeling it. The world moves on, but you, gloriously, unshakably you, remain. Unbothered, unmoved, unconscious. And just like that, we let go. The images fade, the burrow, the termites, the slow, steady rhythm of an aardvark's breath. The details blur at the edges, softening like shadows at dusk. There's no need to hold on anymore. No need to focus. The story is over, but the stillness remains. Your own breathing slows now, matching that same unhurried pace. Inhale, exhale. No rush, no force. Just a gentle rise and fall of a body settling into rest. The weight of the day, the thoughts, the worries, the endless doing. It all drifts away, as insignificant as a single grain of sand in an endless desert. There is no past here, no future, only this quiet, this darkness, this perfect peace. Your muscles unwind one by one, as if guided by an invisible hand. Toes, ankles, knees, each part of you letting go, sinking deeper, surrendering to the pull of gravity and the promise of rest. The world outside continues, but it doesn't touch you. Sounds blur into white noise, sensations dissolve, even time loses its meaning, stretching and bending until now is all that exists. And at this moment, you are not a listener, not a reader, not someone trying to sleep. You just are. And that is enough, more than enough. It's everything. Thank you for drifting through this journey of supreme laziness. May your sleep be as deep and undisturbed as an aardvark's.